going to cover a couple financial assistance programs that we have in the office. There are more programs out there. These are kind of our two most popular programs. And, you know, like Justin said, visiting your local soil and water and NRCS offices is probably the best mode of action to come in and figure out what might work best for you. So to start off with, I like to think of EQIP as a big umbrella. Under that umbrella, we have the RCPP program, which is the Regional Conservation Partnership Program. We like to use lots of acronyms, so if I use an acronym you don't know, make sure and let me know so I'll try to say it out. But with the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, partners put in proposals for EQIP assistance, and so each one of those has different fund codes and different requirements, and those are clear across the state. So I know a lot of you are from Northwest Ohio, but I know that there's a lot of people here that are throughout the state and even out of state. So I want to make sure and cover the whole gamut so that you do have a basic idea when you go back into your local offices. So, and then under EQIP, we have our general EQIP, and we have organic can be in there, you know, and once in a while we get other special funds that come in through regular EQIP. So just having your application in and letting the local office know what practices you're interested in, they can help you find the fund code that works for you, because there's so many of them. It's sometimes hard for us to keep them straight, so just making sure there's no way that, you know, a farmer out in the community is going to be able to know what each and every one of them is or keep them straight. So, and these fund codes are different pots of money. They each have different requirements and different rules. And sometimes they occur at the same time, and sometimes they have their own set of deadlines. So it's kind of an ever-evolving, moving process with these. And EQIP has an incentive for producers to do something that you're not already doing. So if you have that erosion concern, or you have a soil health concern, or an organic matter concern, this helps you do something new to help address those concerns. Some of the examples on practices are, and Justin covered a lot of these already, nutrient management. We have reduced tillage, adding small grains or perennials into rotation. The payments for those have dropped recently, but those are still out there. Cover crops, manure storage, waterways. We also can do grazing practices, forestry practices, tree plantings, wildlife, and pollinator practices. So it's all encompassing for a lot of different land uses, not just for cropland. I'm not going to dwell on these because Justin did an excellent job going over these, but here are some picture examples of a couple of the more common practices for us in Hardin and Hancock counties. But we have manure storage. Here's the drainage water management structure that Justin was talking about. Cover crops. And one of our most popular and most important for the watershed is nutrient management, following the 4 R's in the Tri-State Fertility Guide. One of our other programs is the Conservation Stewardship Program. This has kind of evolved over the last 8 years. As each farm bill comes up, the program changes a little, and so this year there's been some significant changes to the program. Some of the stuff that stayed the same is that it is designed for people that are already meeting traditional practice standards. So if you're already doing grid sampling and VRT, so you're meeting some nutrient management standards already, but you want to increase or improve that beyond what our basic levels are. And what we do is we go through and benchmark what the operator is already doing, and then the operator needs to pick at least one new practice. This year there's over 200 practices, so there are a lot of options to choose from. And what we call, lots of times we call them practices or whatever, but they're actually enhancements, and then the enhancements can be bundled together also. So the enhancements are the next, like I said, the next step above our baseline practice standards. So new for 2017, though, is it's designed to be implemented more like EQIP. You guys coming in, you're not going to see too much difference except for maybe the way we ask questions or some of the stuff we go over with you. But from our end, there's a lot of changes in how the contracting side works. Also, the producer will receive a minimum of $1,500 per year. So if you're a small producer that is raising produce or something like that, and you don't meet the $1,500 per year, then you will that's what your contract will be bumped up to. Now, there is an exception to this. Let's say you already have an existing CSP contract and you add one farm, and the new contract for that one farm doesn't meet $1,500. You're not going to get that addition. You're not going to be bumped up because that's considered adding on to what you're already getting. It has to be a new contract for that $1,500. And new for this year also are 2 new required land uses, the farmstead and the associated ag land. So anywhere on your farm such as grain bins or places that you are storing, processing your ag product, those have to be included in the application or contract. And then the associated ag land, such as, say, waterways, filter strips, even some small wood lots, that kind of thing. So with CSP, it's a 5-year contract, and it's a requirement that you have control of land for all 5 years of the contract. So, if you know you're going to sell an acre house lot to your son within that 5 years, you need to get that done before you have the contract, because you won't be able to do some of those things with the contract. So, and I still have the sign-up deadline in here, so that's obviously passed. But we do take sign-up applications year-round, so you can come in now, even and sign up. It's just that it'll go through the process here first thing next year, essentially, unless they announce another sign-up. So getting your application in at any time is always a good idea. And then there's 2 websites for you to reference, because with it being new and improved, a lot of stuff is still changing and being updated, so you can go to the websites and check it out if you're interested. And for instance, on the Ohio NRCS website, there's a link there that'll take you directly to that spot. With any of our programs, it's important to plan ahead, just like Justin said, coming in just to talk with us and see what there is a good idea. And with any of our programs, the applications are taken at any time, any watershed, it doesn't matter. And each year they announce a sign-up period. So that's, for instance, on the CSP, I said the sign-up period ended February 3rd. Well, they announce a sign-up period for each of these pots of money or fund codes each year. So, and funding is competitive for these programs, so just because you come in and sign up does not mean that you'll get funded. And I know that's kind of a sticky issue with a lot of people, because we do have so much interest in these programs, and we only have a finite amount of money to go around. So, and currently we're planning for crop year 2018 and later. So again, that's why I said coming in ahead of time. I have a lot of guys come in August and September and say, hey, I hear you guys pay for cover crops. It's like, well, yeah, we can get you in have you sign up for a program for that. And they're like, well, I want to plant them next month. It's like, ooh, that's not going to work, because with our programs, any practice that you've started, we can't retroactively pay for. So coming in and planning ahead and getting all those details from your local office is important. So if you're interested in coming in and talking with us, what is the application process? Here's what our basic application looks like, and it's the same application for CSP as it is for EQIP or for RCPP. So it's it's pretty basic information. I do let guys take them home once in a while. I'm assuming you could probably get them off the internet. I'm not sure, but if you come in and sit down with me and we go through the application, which is kind of what I prefer, I can help you through this 4-page application in about 3 minutes. But at the same time, I can get information from you on what practices you're interested, what farms you're looking at, and that kind of thing. So the application process can be daunting if you're trying to do it on your own, but with the help from your local office, it's really not too bad. If you're an entity that's applying, so an LLC, a corporation, a general partnership or limited liability partnership that has an EIN, there is some additional extra paperwork that needs to be done. You have to register for a DUNS number, and then you have to go in and get an activation code through the sam.gov website. Again, we have step-by-step instructions that we can print out for you on how to do all this, but it's just an extra step that entities would have to take to go through. Then historically underserved participants or applicants. Basically, there's different categories here that you can check one or not one or more, and not applicable is an option also. But limited resource farmer or rancher is basically those who have a total household income at or below the national poverty level for a family of 4, or less than 50% of the county median household income in each of the previous 2 years. So for me, for Hardin County, when a guy comes in, says, well, I think I might qualify for that. It's like, well, was your total household income around $23,000 or less 2 of the last 3 years? So that gives them an idea to get started on. And if that answer is a yes, then there's a website we can go to there, to a tool, and it asks a couple more questions to see if the person qualifies for that. Beginning farmer or rancher, that is if you have not filed a Schedule F in at least 1 out of the last 10 years. Socially disadvantaged farmer or rancher is based on race. Veteran farmer or rancher is if you were in the military and discharged something other than dishonorably, and then not applicable. So a lot of our, in some of our programs, these will get priority, and some other of the programs, maybe they don't necessarily get priority, but they would get a higher cost share rate. So it depends what program you're looking at, and that would be the reason why, if you are one of these applicable categories, why you would want to choose it. So what do you include with the application? Well, we're going to need to know maps. We're going to need to know locations of where we're looking at, what practices you're interested in applying for. And so also for many practices, a lot that Justin was talking about that require some engineering, such as drainage, water management, manure storage, waterways, those kind of things. We'll need to do an on-site inventory and evaluation, or I&E. And so usually we get an engineer or a engineering technician to come out and walk your site with you, look at our options, and then they can come up with maybe some cost estimates or that kind of thing to help you out, help you make informed decisions on what you want to do. So once you have the application in, what are some of your next steps? You'll want to make sure that you have your information and your eligibility updated with the Farm Service Agency. So even though we're in separate offices or across the hall from each other, we do use a lot of their record keeping, so you'd want to make sure that your adjusted gross income form for the year and that kind of stuff is updated at the Farm Service Agency. You'll need to make planning and decision-making process will need to be completed as we go through there. If something changes and you need to update your application, that's no problem. But as we get farther down the line and through ranking, you'll have to have some decisions made so that we can make sure and have an accurate application for you. And then we do the ranking and the cost estimates, and then all of that goes into our computer software, and then the state office gives us a pre-approval list of the top ranking applications. So this is all or none funding. So basically, if you score a 650, they'll start up here and go down through until they run out of money. And so that's how the competitive ranking is. It's not, well, we have so much money and we're going to divide it up amongst everybody. It's going to start with the top ranking and go down until they run out.
That's at a state level or a county level?
That is mostly at a state level. It's at a funding level. So the state handles it. And so, for instance, general livestock fund codes, Hardin County is in Tier 2 West. So we're competing with 14 other counties. So it's smaller than just state, but we are competing with 14 other counties along the western side of the state. But then, like, say some of our wildlife fund codes, those are statewide. Some of our cropland fund codes are just Lake Erie. And, for instance, out here on State Route 309's one of the continental divides, and so everything there goes south to the Scioto River. So anybody that's in the Scioto River, they're actually competing with about 40 other counties in the Indiana-Ohio Till Plain Fund Code for cropland. So does that answer your... It's not an easy yes or no. So the state is the one going through and approving them, but sometimes you're competing against a small amount of counties, and sometimes you're competing against a larger amount of counties, depending on what fund code you're in. And then once the state office puts out what the approved list of applications are, the field office will notify you, or the participant, that the application was selected for funding. And so we'll need to make sure that, you're on board with everything that we've come up with, or everything that's been discussed, and nothing's changed, so that we can put a contract together, because it is a contract. And so if you're not selected in that, we do send out deferral letters, but we only send them out once a year, usually in October. So if you put your application in January, unless you're calling the office and asking, which I don't mind. I actually highly recommend it, because I think it's important for you to stay up to date and know where your application is. But otherwise, you'll get a letter in October. You would get a letter in October that says that you weren't funding. Do you want to keep your application as is, or do you want to make changes, or do you want to cancel? So, and like I said, making sure that the contract is what you want, what you're expecting, that's an important step, because it's important to follow through with the contract. It's your responsibility. So having that communication is important. Some of the participants' responsibilities is that they cannot start a practice before they have a contract. So if you go ahead and plant those cover crops before you have a contract, you're no longer eligible for that payment. Once you have a contract, you have to start at least one practice within the first 12 months, and you have to complete the contract as agreed to. So we understand that Mother Nature throws a monkey wrench in things a lot of times. So communicating with your office and letting them know what's going on is an important step. We can do some modifications, especially when Mother Nature plays a role. But talking with your office before I had a guy this year that he got 90% of his cover crops in, but that last 10%, the beans didn't come off till late, and he was really rushing. So he called in and he said, so when is my deadline? What do I need to do? What happens if I don't get them planted? Having that kind of information to arm himself with to make an educated decision on what he needed to do to maintain his contract, or what we would need to do if he missed a couple of those fields, was really important. And it was great communication with him. So the other thing is you need to notify the office within 60 days of any changes. So if you have a contract and one of your landlords die and the kids decide that they're going to sell it and you're not going to be operating it anymore, you need to let the office know as soon as possible, but definitely within 60 days if that kind of thing happens, so that we can go through the paperwork and make sure that we have everything taken care of. The other thing that has been happening lately is if I have a contract in my name and I decide to start Burgess Farms LLC, yeah, I'm still farming. I'm still in control of it. No big deal, right? Not with an NRCS contract. We look at that as a different person operating it. So you need to let us know when that kind of thing happens so that we can update the paperwork and make sure that there's no issues with that.